I want to tell you about a morning that changed the way I see the world permanently. Not dramatically, not all at once, but in the quiet, accumulating way that real changes happen, where you notice something you never noticed before and then you can never stop noticing it, and the world looks fundamentally different from that point forward because of it. I was driving through an industrial area on the edge of the city, the kind of area most people drive through without really seeing. Warehouses, loading bays, stacked pallets, skips, the general visual noise of commerce and logistics, doing what commerce and logistics do every single day without pausing to consider whether anyone is watching. And beside a loading dock, stacked against a chain link fence waiting to be collected as waste, were 6 wooden shipping crates. Large ones, the kind used to ship heavy industrial machinery across oceans. And from 20 meters away, driving past at 40 kilometers an hour, I could see the grain. Not just any grain, the deep, complex, cathedral-arched grain of genuine oak. Quarter sawn, tight-ringed, with the kind of figure and character that you see in antique furniture in museums and auction catalogs, and the showrooms of craftspeople who charge £5,000 for a dining table. Sitting against a chain-link fence, scheduled for collection as a waste. Free to anyone who asked. I stopped the car. I asked. And I drove home with enough premium oak to build 3 pieces of furniture that people now ask me about every time they visit. Pieces that look like they came from an expensive designer. Pieces that have the kind of presence and character and authenticity that no flat pack product, no matter how well designed, can ever replicate. Made from wood that was, 24 hours earlier, garbage. That morning taught me something that I have been trying to share ever since. The most extraordinary raw material available to any furniture maker, any interior designer, any craftsperson working in wood, is not in the timber yard. It is not behind the glass of an expensive specialist supplier. It is hidden in plain sight in the industrial infrastructure of every city and town, waiting for someone who knows how to look for it and what to do with it when they find it. Today I am going to teach you exactly how to look and exactly what to do. Before we talk about where to find premium wood, we need to talk about why it is there in the first place. Because understanding the system that creates this hidden abundance is what allows you to navigate it intelligently rather than randomly. And this understanding changes everything about how you approach the search. The global industrial supply chain moves enormous quantities of goods across the world every single day. Machinery, equipment, manufacturing components, architectural elements, specialist materials. Everything that requires serious protection during shipping gets packed into purpose-built wooden crates. And these crates are almost never made from cheap timber. The engineering logic is simple and important. A crate that fails during shipping damages the contents, which are worth far more than the crate itself. So the people who build industrial shipping crates use good wood. Thick wood. Structurally sound, carefully selected, properly dried hardwood that can withstand the stresses of ocean freight and container handling and the full journey from manufacturer to end user. Once that crate is opened and the contents removed, the crate has served its purpose from the perspective of the business that received it. It is now a disposal problem, something to be broken down, collected, and processed. Almost nobody in that industrial ecosystem looks at a disassembled shipping crate and sees what it actually is. A collection of premium hardwood boards that have been kiln-dried, machined to consistent dimensions, and shipped halfway around the world at considerable expense, now available for the cost of asking politely and providing your own transport. The same logic applies to architectural salvage, the materials removed from buildings during renovation or demolition. Old buildings were built with old-growth timber, wood from trees that grew slowly over centuries and developed the tight grain, the density, the stability, and the extraordinary figure that modern plantation timber simply cannot replicate because the trees are harvested before they have lived long enough to develop those qualities. A beam removed from a Victorian warehouse during conversion is not just any piece of wood. It is a piece of old-growth oak or pine or elm that has been air drying in situ for 150 years and has reached a stability and a quality that no kiln-dried modern timber can match. The people removing it during demolition are focused on the building project. The wood is a secondary concern, and that gap between what the wood actually is and what it appears to be in that context is where your opportunity lives. Let us start with industrial shipping crates, because they are the most consistently available and the most reliably high-quality source of premium free wood that exists in the modern urban environment. And finding them requires nothing more than a systematic approach and the willingness to make a few phone calls. Industrial estates and business parks are your primary hunting ground. Any business that imports heavy equipment, manufacturing companies, engineering firms, medical equipment suppliers, printing companies, technology infrastructure businesses, agricultural machinery dealers, receives shipments in wooden crates on a regular basis. The frequency varies by business type, but the pattern is consistent. Large shipment arrives. Crate is opened. Contents installed. Crate sits in the yard or the loading bay awaiting disposal. Your job is to be the person who removes that disposal problem for them at no cost. The approach that works consistently and that establishes you as a reliable, professional, genuinely useful contact, rather than someone who turns up randomly looking for free things, is to visit businesses in person rather than calling. Walk into the reception or the loading bay, ask to speak to whoever manages facilities or materials handling, explain clearly and briefly that you are a craftsperson or furniture maker who works with reclaimed wood, and ask whether they have a regular need to dispose of wooden crates and whether they would be willing to contact you before those crates go to a waste contractor. Leave your contact details. Be professional. Be clear about what you are offering, a free, reliable, prompt removal of a material that would otherwise cost them money to dispose of. You are solving a problem for them. Frame it that way, and the response is almost always positive. Port areas and import warehouses are the most concentrated source of shipping crate timber anywhere in an urban area, and if you have port infrastructure within driving distance of where you live, establishing contacts there is one of the most valuable things you can do as someone who works with reclaimed wood. The volume of crating material processed through a busy import facility is extraordinary. Freight forwarding companies, customs bonded warehouses, and logistics operators all deal with this material constantly. One good contact in a port area can supply you with more premium hardwood than you will ever be able to use on a consistent and reliable basis, indefinitely. Reading the wood before you commit to collecting it is the skill that separates people who come home with extraordinary material from people who come home with a van full of low-grade timber that looked promising from a distance. And this skill, the ability to assess structural integrity, grain quality, and working potential quickly and accurately in a yard or loading bay, is learnable. It takes practice and attention, but the principles are clear, and once you understand them, applying them becomes almost instinctive. Start with species identification because species tells you most of what you need to know before you have examined a single board in detail. Oak is the most commonly found hardwood in industrial crating and architectural salvage, and it is identifiable by several characteristics that remain visible even on rough, dirty, or weathered surfaces. The grain in oak is distinctive, open-pored, with visible ray flecks that appear as silver or copper-toned streaks, crossing the grain at right angles in quarter-sawn sections. The color of freshly exposed oak is warm golden brown, oxidizing to a deeper amber over time. The end grain of oak shows clear, well-defined growth rings and an open pore structure that is unmistakable once you have seen it. Weight is also diagnostic. Oak is genuinely heavy, noticeably heavier per board foot than most softwoods and many other hardwoods. If a board feels surprisingly heavy for its size, that is a good initial signal. Maple presents differently. Tighter grained, paler in color, with a fine, even texture that almost glows in good light. The end grain of maple shows very tight, closely spaced growth rings and a fine pore structure that gives it a smooth, almost creamy appearance. Maple is harder than oak and even heavier for equivalent dimensions. It is less common in industrial crating, but appears frequently in architectural salvage from commercial spaces, old gymnasium floors, factory floors, commercial kitchen surfaces, where its hardness made it the material of choice for heavy-use surfaces. Old maple gymnasium flooring is one of the most beautiful and most undervalued salvage materials available, with a surface patina of decades of use that creates a depth of color and character that no new timber can replicate. Structural integrity assessment comes next, and this is where many people make expensive mistakes, either rejecting good material because of surface condition that is superficial and easily addressed, or accepting poor material because surface appearance is deceptively clean. The most important structural assessment you can make on a piece of salvage timber is the sound test. Pick up a length of the timber and strike it firmly with your knuckle or a hard object at the midpoint. Sound timber rings with a clear, slightly musical tone. Timber that has internal rot or significant structural degradation sounds dull and dead, a flat thud rather than a ring. Trust this test. It does not lie. Check the end grain carefully for checking. The radial cracks that develop as timber dries and that can indicate either unstable drying history or ongoing movement. Small surface checks are normal and generally not structurally significant. Deep checks that penetrate well into the board cross-section tell you that the timber has dried unevenly or too rapidly and may continue to move as it acclimates to a new environment. This is not necessarily a reason to reject the material. It may simply inform how you cut it, orienting your workpieces to avoid the checked sections. Look for the ghost marks of previous hardware, the staining around old bolt holes, the compression marks where clamping mechanisms gripped the timber, the surface variation where protective coatings were applied and removed. These marks are not flaws, they are evidence of history. And history in a piece of wood is not a problem to be solved. It is a quality to be understood and incorporated into the design of whatever you make from it. A bolt hole in a piece of shipping crate oak does not reduce the value of the wood. It adds a dimension of authenticity and narrative that no unmarked piece of new timber can offer. Architectural salvage requires a slightly different approach and a slightly different set of contacts, but the rewards are extraordinary, and the material available through this channel is often of even higher quality than industrial crating, because the timber itself is older and the selection of species reflects the construction standards of the period in which the building was originally built. Demolition contractors are your primary contact in the architectural salvage world, and approaching them effectively is a matter of timing and persistence rather than any particular skill. The window during which salvage material is available is narrow. Once a building comes down, materials that were not specifically earmarked go to waste quickly. You need to know about demolition projects before they begin, or at the very earliest stages of the process. Local planning applications are public documents in most jurisdictions, and reviewing them regularly for demolition or major renovation permissions gives you advance notice that allows you to make contact while there is still time to arrange access and collection. Architectural salvage yards have already done much of the sourcing work for you, and while they charge for their material, the prices are almost always dramatically lower than equivalent new timber and often dramatically lower than the intrinsic value of what they are selling. A salvage yard that does not know it is sitting on a collection of old-growth elm or has not identified the quarter-sawn character of its oak stock is your best friend. Developing relationships with salvage yard operators, visiting regularly, demonstrating genuine knowledge and genuine interest, buying small amounts consistently rather than appearing only when you want something specific, builds the kind of trust that results in phone calls when something extraordinary comes in before it reaches the general stock. Church restorations and the renovation of old institutional buildings, schools, hospitals, civic buildings, warehouses converted to residential use, are perhaps the richest single source of premium architectural timber that exists in the built environment. The structural timbers in a Victorian church, the roof members, the floor joists, the pew construction, are frequently old-growth oak of a quality and age that has not been available from any commercial timber source for a century or more. Approaching the architects or project managers on these renovations, explaining your interest, and offering to remove and responsibly use the timber that would otherwise go to a skip is an approach that is almost always welcomed. Architects working on historic buildings are often actively looking for people who will give the original materials a dignified second life rather than sending them to landfill. Once you have your material home and in your workspace, the process of reading its full potential begins properly. And this is the part that I find most deeply satisfying. The conversation between you and the wood, where you discover what it wants to become. Clean the timber first. A stiff brush and clean water removes the majority of surface dirt, old grease, and loose material that has accumulated during the wood's previous life. Do this outside and let the timber dry completely before you do anything else. Completely dry means at least 2 full days in a warm, ventilated space for dimensional lumber, and longer for thicker sections. Do not rush this. Once clean and dry, take a sharp hand plane and take 1 or 2 thin passes across a section of the face of the board. This single action, removing just enough surface material to reveal the fresh wood beneath, is the moment of revelation that never loses its power no matter how many times you experience it. The weathered gray exterior of an old piece of oak or maple disappears in a curl of aromatic shaving, and beneath it is the wood as it actually is. The color, the grain, the figure, the character that has been developing inside that tree and inside that timber for decades or centuries. This is the moment you understand what you have. This is the moment you start to see the piece it wants to become. The grain pattern revealed by that first plane pass should guide your design decisions rather than your design decisions being imposed upon the grain. This is the fundamental principle of working with character timber rather than working against it. A cathedral arch grain running down the center of a wide oak board tells you to make something that celebrates that central feature. A tabletop, a panel, a door face where the grain is the design. A complex, irregular figure that changes direction across the face of the board tells you to keep the piece simple. Let the wood be the decoration and build the structure around it rather than competing with it. Tight, consistent, straight grain in a long piece of maple tells you this piece wants to be something structural. A bench, a shelf, a surface that will be used rather than merely admired. The soulful pieces that people respond to most deeply, the ones that stop conversation and make people reach out and touch the surface, are never the ones where the maker imposed a design on the material regardless of what the material was asking for. They are the ones where the maker listened to the wood first and designed second. Where the grain informed the form, where the history embedded in the timber became part of the story the finished piece tells. Where the bolt hole from a shipping crate became a design detail rather than a flaw to be filled. Where the compression mark from a century of weight became a surface feature rather than a blemish to be hidden. That is what premium free wood makes possible that no purchased timber can replicate. Not just the beauty of the material, the authenticity of the conversation between the maker and the material. The honesty of a piece that knows where it came from and wears that knowledge openly. That honesty is what people respond to. That honesty is what makes a piece of reclaimed furniture feel alive in a room in a way that manufactured furniture never quite manages. And it starts with a drive through an industrial area, with a willingness to stop the car, with the confidence to ask the question, with the knowledge to see what is really sitting against that chain link fence waiting for someone who understands what it actually is. Go and find your wood. It is out there right now, waiting for exactly you. If this opened your eyes to a world of material you never knew was there, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment telling me where you are going to look first. I answer every single one.